Okay, let's start with a really simple question, one that I think reveals a surprising truth about what it actually takes to succeed in pretty much any job.
So I want you to imagine you're a manager. You've got a critical coding position to fill, and you've narrowed it down to your final two candidates. They're sitting right across the table from you.
On one hand, you've got a technical genius. I mean, their coding skills are just off the charts. But they have a really hard time explaining their ideas. Then, on the other hand, you've got someone with pretty good, solid coding skills, but they're an amazing communicator. So, who gets the job?
Now, your first instinct, and most people's instinct, is to go for the genius. It's a coding job, so you hire the best coder. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, the actual data tells a totally different story.
A 2023 report from LinkedIn on global talent trends uncovered this absolutely massive number that just flips that whole idea on its head. And that number is 92%.
That's right, a whopping 92% of hiring managers say they would choose the candidate with better communication skills. So why is that? It's because those are the people who can lead teams, who can talk to clients, and who can actually solve problems without creating chaos. Technical skill gets you in the door, but communication is what really makes you successful. And all of this points to one huge mental shift. The one thing that separates good communicators from truly great ones? It's this one simple idea. Influential communication is not about you and what you want to say. It is always, always about the other person.
All right, let's see how this plays out in the real world. Our first story takes us to a struggling steel mill where morale was, well, in the gutter.
Just picture it for a second. The factory floor is just filled with these tired, totally unmotivated workers. Production is slowed to a crawl. The energy is just gone. And into this scene walks the boss, a guy named Charles Schwab.
Now, he doesn't come in shouting or making threats. Instead, he walks right up to the foreman and asks, loud enough for everybody to hear, who did the best work this week? The foreman points over to this quiet worker, a man named James.
So Schwab walks directly over to James, and right there in front of the entire crew, he just genuinely praises him. He thanks James for a small suggestion he'd made about the furnaces, an idea that ended up saving the company hundreds of dollars. And then he hands him a $5 bill, which was a pretty big deal back then, as a simple token of his thanks. And the result of that one single heartfelt moment of appreciation, in the days that followed, the mill's production completely doubled.
The lesson here is so powerful. When you make people feel truly seen and valued for what they do, you unlock a kind of energy and potential that you just can't buy. It's about focusing on their contribution.
Okay, that's great for when things are going well. But what about when you mess up? Let's take a look at a bank back in the 1920s that was facing a huge crisis of trust.
So you have to remember, this was after the war, a time when people's faith in banks was already shaky, to say the least. And right at that moment, this one small bank makes a clerical error and accidentally overcharges a customer's account.
The easy thing to do would have been to hide it, right? Just sweep it under the rug and hope nobody noticed. But the bank president did the exact opposite. He took out a full-page ad in the newspaper, publicly admitted the mistake, he even named the client, and promised to pay back every single cent, with interest.
The public's reaction was just incredible. People were so blown away by this level of honesty that new deposits tripled. New accounts just came flooding in. Everyone wanted to do business with the one bank they knew they could actually trust.
You see, by focusing on the customer's trust instead of his own reputation, the bank president turned what could have been a disaster into a huge win. It just goes to show you that owning your mistakes quickly and openly is one of the fastest ways to earn respect.
All right, for our last story, let's see how this idea of focusing on someone else's interests can completely change the game, this time in something as simple as a shoe store.
So in this store, you had most of the salespeople just reciting these scripted lines about leather quality and whatever the best-selling models were. But one salesman, let's call him Rohit, he did something totally different. When a customer walked in, he didn't launch into a speech. He just asked a question.
His whole method was this dead simple three-step process. First, he'd ask one powerful question. Are you looking for something comfortable or something stylish? Second, he would focus the entire rest of the conversation on whatever they said. And third, he'd only show them shoes that perfectly matched what they told him they wanted.
By shifting his focus from his sales pitch to what the customer actually needed, he wasn't just selling shoes anymore, he was solving their problem. And because of that, he outsold everyone else in the store, by a mile. It proves that the most persuasive thing you can do is just show someone you get them.
So there you have it, a steel mill, a bank, a shoe store, 3 completely different worlds, all proving the exact same powerful communication principle.
So whether it's showing someone real appreciation, admitting when you're wrong, or just taking a second to understand what they care about, the secret to being more influential is always the same. It all comes back to that one core idea. Make it about them, not about you.
At the end of the day, true influence doesn't come from being the smartest or the loudest person in the room. It comes from making other people feel understood and valued. So the real question isn't just about knowing this stuff. It's about using it. How will you focus on others in your next conversation today?